Hi guys, I'm about to read chapter 3 for you. It's called Dreams, Nightmares, and Memories. It feels late in the evening when my guardian and I reunite with the elves living in the forest. The remainder of the meeting we had with the little girl was rather boring for me as I stood there watching her preach to Wyston in their language. After the long walk back, all I want is sleep. Whether I'll be able to after everything I have been through and seen is another question. I have taken in so much and have so many unanswered questions that my entire being, not only my body, but every part of me, feels worn out. Wyston guides me through the city until he sees an oak-skinned elf and her twin daughters. When their eyes meet, he runs, and all three ladies run to him. I think they are his family by the way the children grasp to his legs and the mother jumps into his arms. She holds him as if she hasn't seen him in several days. It's strange how small the ladies are in comparison to Wyston. The mother stands at 4 feet tall and has a little extra weight on her. Her face looks a little over 30 years old, with her shoulder-length brown hair. She has a pudgy face with green eyes, and her full lips show an easy smile. The woman wears a lime green dress and leather sandals. The two young daughters have innocent oval faces with rosy cheeks. They're a few inches over 3 feet tall. By the way they act and the maturing features of their face, I guess them to be about 7 years old. Then again, what do I know? Though they are twin sisters, they couldn't present themselves more differently. The biggest visual distinction between them is their clothes. One daughter wears a tan leather dress, while her sister's dress has a reddish-brown tint. The girl in the lighter colors looks at me questioningly. The girl in the lighter colors looks at me with a questioning expression upon her face. Through her sandy blonde tresses that fall over her eyes, I can see she fears me. The other daughter runs to me happily. Her hair is much shorter, undone, and frizzy compared to her sibling. This child is the firecracker of the two, that's for sure. She examines me, then smiles and hugs me like she has known me forever. When the girl lets go of me, they take me into a section of the forest where I locate several rows of tables. It's as if someone carved them out of the sides of the trees and placed them alongside the trunks they came from. Each tree in this area has 4 tables expanding out from it in a starburst pattern. Each table lies on its curved outer side, and the inner side is flat and polished. 4 seats, 20 individually cut logs, lie parallel to both sides of each table. We sit down to eat, and the whole city watches my every move. This includes Wyston's little girls. The daughter in the darker clothes tries to talk to me and soon realizes I don't comprehend her. Castanea, the girl says, patting her chest. Then Castanea points to her sister, Sira. Acherim, the mother says in turn. A few young women walk out from inside the enormous tree and place several completely flat wooden plates in front of us. I am not happy to see what's on those plates, however. It's more of that bitter plant I had eaten earlier. Albeit, I have high hopes when I notice some other steamed greens that have a pleasant aroma. The two daughters don't have nearly as much of the different plants on their plates as I do. They have a variety of food, including little chunks of red meat and a strange fruit cocktail. Their utensils are wooden sporks and small knives. Wyston's plate has a long slab of some kind of grilled steak. Since I look like a child, I consider gazing up at him with sad eyes in an attempt to sucker him into giving me a piece. I try, but to no avail. He points to my plate of wet leaves and goes back to eating his mouth-watering steak strip. A second later, he's chuckling at my jealousy. I stare down at my plate and begin to eat while listening to Wyston's family talk. I wish I could understand them. By the time that I'm almost finished with my plate, a woman brings out another plate of the steamed vegetables. I try to refuse it, but Wyston motions with anger. After a few grunts, he calms down, points to what's left of his steak, and then points to the plate of greens. I'm not happy by this transaction, but if it's to be the only way I'll have something other than leaves, it's worth it. I finish my second plate, and then Wyston hands me his with the 4-inch piece of steak. The meat is cold, but it is much better than the plants I have been eating. I've taken 2 bites of meat when a man's voice calls out. The next thing I know, everyone gathers their plates and log seats to put them away in one of the bigger trees in the area. I take Weisson's plate for fear of them stealing the only piece of meat I have had all day. The only meat I have had all day, that sounds kind of weird. Weisson pulls me from the log I was sitting on and backs me away from the table. I stand there astonished as 3 large ropes pull it off the ground as if it were a drawbridge attaching back to the tree. Soon after, it appears as if the piece of wood was never unattached from its trunk. I look around, and people are closing the entrances to their tree homes, making the trees look solid and untouched. Neither Weiston nor any of the other townsfolk seem scared. They only seem rushed to camouflage their society to blend in with the rest of the landscape. Soon, Weiston and his family take me inside of one of the hollowed trees. The first room comes across as a den for reading and relaxation. The room is half-circle shaped and the size of a spacious living room. The curved wall has the entrance door and 2 mounted animal heads. They're quite intimidating and much bigger than any elk or bear I have ever seen. Both heads are from different animals. One of them makes me sad because it reminds me of Bigfoot. The second mounted item is similar to a massive spider head. Centered in the middle of the flat wall is a set of wooden seats and a large bookshelf with loosely bound books. Above the shelving, there is a painting of Weisson's family standing together with the children in front. In its background, clouds shape the facial features of an oak-skinned elf. I can't be sure whether it's a man or a woman. The ghostly face has a soft expression and long strands of hair. From the left of this flat wall, we walk up a carved hallway that spirals up the inside of the tree. The second room up from the den is a bedroom with a tall cabinet and a stack of furry pelts that make a shared bed. Clothes are hung on the curved wall in a row by what I assume are carved out hooks. The little girls run up to the next room. It makes sense that the parents' room would be first to protect their young. Weiston pulls 2 pelts off the stack to make a bed for me next to him and his wife. I take off my father's coat and lie down in the pelts. Shortly after, I drape the coat over me like a security blanket. I can't deny that I am scared. I realize that I'm acting like the young boy that my body suggests, and I don't know why. Though it might be impossible, I try to get comfortable. The hard objects on both sides of the coat are not helping. Do those altered guns mean that my father has been here before? After all, he looked and acted so differently. Why didn't he come back to this world with me? Now that I think of it, the only normal thing he did that night was leave me. I lie awake in the warm pelts and think about where I am and what that mysterious woman said this morning. Did she mean it when she told me Earth is dead? I can't imagine how I could have killed it. She did speak in poor English after all. Sorry about that. The way she spoke causes me to question everything she said. I think about my last night on Earth and how I passed out. I haven't had episodes or fainted like that before. All of this thinking is stressing me out. I clear my mind and try to sleep. Eventually, I drift off into one of the deepest and most surreal dreams that I have ever experienced. It comes mostly in flashes or brief visions, though some parts are fluid, solid, and in high detail. I watch elves approaching me and talking to me in English, or at least I think they are. Not every piece of this dream is this way. I'm talking in this dream too. I am a member of the society. However, I'm living in a section of the forest that I don't recognize. I see a man in his 40s with a collection of small braids that form a beard. The man is a walnut-skinned elf who's uncommonly overweight for what I've seen of his race. He's mad and is ordering me to make up for the fish that I didn't catch the day before. I don't know how, but I know this elf to be the father of the person I am in this dream. The dream flashes, and I can now see that I'm a walnut-colored elf boy of about 8 years old. I'm standing in a river, trying to fish with a spear. I grip my weapon and observe I am missing my first 2 fingers on my right hand. When a red-scaled fish approaches me, I take aim and stab it through the gills. I'm stringing the first fish when I spot 3 young kids running toward me. One of the boys has a pure white stripe in his otherwise black hair. They're yelling to me, wanting me to come and play. After I start walking toward them, I lose my footing, stumble, and fall into the river. My leg is stuck under a tree root. Fighting to get my head above water, I can hear the kids yelling for me to get up. They don't understand that I'm in real trouble. As I begin slipping out of consciousness, I keep hearing them calling to me to get up. My last thought, as I am dying, is that of my father. I hope he doesn't blame himself. I wake up, startled by the intense ending to my dream, and race to catch my breath. I assume that it's morning now. Wyston and Akram aren't in their bedroom with me, so I pull back the coat that blankets me and examine one of the guns again. Nervous, I unholster the altered weapon, and it's quite heavy in my 2 hands. Yes, it looks exactly like a desert eagle. My attention turns on to its detachable connector that encases the bottom inch of the handle. On one side, the casing continues all the way up the handle and ends just below the barrel of the gun. It has a horizontal lever set in a grooved strip. This connector is part of the more noticeable ball joint, but that's not where my attention lies. No, it's to the shiny blade that resembles a katana, or rather, my reflection in the side of it. It's me, the way I remember myself when I was about 10 years old. My eyes are the same blue color, and my lips are in their neutral pursed state. My feathered brown hair is much shorter than it was the last time I looked at myself. I touch the side of my face that the glass window cut earlier, and perceive that any scar that should be there is now missing. Yes, is wanna to get him up. I Sasika the boy, I hear Wyston say from downstairs. That's that language again. Some of the foreign words pop out and make sense to me. At least I think they do. They're still alien words, but like in my dream, I understand their meaning. I'm not sure. Maybe it's my imagination. I know that in my dream, I heard the kids yelling for me to get up. I understood that what they were saying, but they pronounced it Dalvu. I think my dream was not a normal dream after all. While hearing Wyston walk up the hallway, I hurry to hide the gun back underneath the coat. I'm not quick enough, however, and he catches me in the act. With a large woven sack in hand, he stares at me questioningly, and then moves to see what's under the coat. My small hands attempt to stop him from getting to it, but he pushes them back, discovers the gun, and glares at me. He pulls both guns from the holsters and rushes to the tall red cabinet in this room, placing them on the highest shelf inside. After closing the cabinet doors, he turns to me with an angry face. He can't know what the guns are, can he? Nevertheless, he has seen the blades, and that would be enough to scare any adult when in the hands of a kid. No, he points to the shelf. No. I stand in disbelief, knowing that I understand him. After a long pause, Wyston calms down and reaches for the woven sack that he had thrown on his pelts. He reaches in and hands me a set of clothes more fitting to my new body. When I discover that it's the poncho with the belt and no pants look, I shake my head. I hope he understands this gesture. To be sure, I stomp my foot and give him an angry expression. I feel bad to refuse anything he would give me. However, I can't bring myself to walk outside without pants on. After he comes back with pants and a frustrated look upon his face, we're in business again. Then he shows me the feminine sandals and I frown, although I'm not about to argue with him again. Within the next few days, Wyston's family turned their storage room into my new bedroom. It's at the fourth and final floor of the home, and still has a section occupied with wooden boxes that hold some of the family's belongings, but is otherwise a place to call my own. With all the hooks in my room, my father's coat is the only hanging item I have on my wall. Each morning I touch the coat and head down the hallway to meet my adoptive family. For the first month, I keep silent while observing the elves talk. In that time, I've seen the people of this community as a whole tend to be cheerful. This is doubly so with the lighter-skinned elves. They call themselves Oaken elves and are the happiest people I've ever met. The darker-skinned Trent elves don't smile quite as much, but are still nicer than your average stranger walking through Seattle. Every day, I have breakfast with Wyston's family. Afterward, some of the elders watch or babysit me while the family goes to work. Wyston hunts to prevent various meats and pelts for the community. His wife, Akram, weaves clothes. Even the young daughters, Sira and Castanea, have a variety of chores to do until sunset. Every night, I reunite with the family and have dinner with the community at one of the many tables. Then it's time to hide our city, and we're off to our home to go to bed, where I have similar dreams of living in fragments of other people's memories. No dream is the same. In every dream, I'm someone else and doing something different. On occasion, I meet people in one dream that I've lived through in a previous dream. Then, after the night's dream is over, I wake and understand more words. The first month felt like a comfortable groove that I fell into. But when that month was over, the tone changed. My silence became an issue. The elves began giving me frustrated stares. This wouldn't have bothered me if it weren't for those who have treated me like a member of their family. Wyston and Akram kept looking at me with odd expressions. I was used to it from the other elves, but not from them. Then, one day, Wyston and Akram sat me down in our den, and I knew it was time to speak. Nate, do you, Umbertwim, and a corpt, I'm saying? Akram asked. Nita, it isn't Corkum, his body the same, Wyston said. I considered how to answer them. I had never tried to pronounce any of the words I had been learning. Give him some more time. Casil will find a more way, Wyston said. Akram frowned as she got up and started to walk away. I was desperate to answer her, but I only knew about a third of all words I had heard each day. Wimiku, I blurted out, which means thank you. Thank you, I said again. Akram turned her head with an excited expression, while Wyston grinned. Ayura welcome, said Akram. I'm having a hard time pronouncing my own words. I basically just use an alphabet, flipped up the letters around, use vowels for vowels and consonants for consonants. So, but they're hard to pronounce. Anyway, getting back to it. That conversation happened several weeks ago, I think. It's hard to keep track. I'll never forget that day and the way she smiled. Once I started talking, it became hard to stop. All my many questions flowed like water from my mouth. I'll wait just a second. However, when it came to answering why I'm here and what happened to my world, they had no answers. They want me to believe that the little red-headed girl will have all the answers. They want me to believe that the little red-headed girl will have all the answers when she is ready to tell them to me. Between you and me, this ticks me off every time I think about it. They can't expect me to wait forever. 2 pages, guys. Currently, I'm standing in the center of the main marketplace with Wyston. I already understand most of their language as if it were my own. While Wyston scans over the various vegetables, I look over my shoulder and notice the 3 boys from my first dream on this world. The one where I'm drowning in the river. The boys are a few years older now, but I know it's them. I look at the white stripe of hair on the one boy and instinctively bend my pointer and middle fingers on my right hand like they are missing, then place my hand on my chest. The boy with the stripe glances at me while moving past with his friends. Was the dream real? Can you tell me why I have dreams of being an elf? Wyston chuckles. It's the plants. Haven't you figured that out yet? The plants? When a body is laid to rest, whether it's on the battlefield or harvested on a farm, the plants soak up the souls of the dead. We in turn relive memories of their past, sometimes gaining a small amount of their being into ourselves. Isn't harvesting dead bodies on a farm in hopes of eating their memories kind of dark and morbid? Do you see it that way? We see it as a way of being respectful to the deceased. A part of them lives on in us. I'd be honored to have some young one learn my skills with a bow. They're only dreams to me. As they should be. We wouldn't want you to have to share your bodies with the dead, but we do learn from them. You learn the language, correct? For us, we learn the language naturally, from birth to edible tamka. That's a really hard one. There's another one coming that's even worse. With you, it was different. The plant saw something missing and filled that void with a si molantamkapa. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word again. Of our language. I look at him with wonder. I know he's right. I just can't believe how fast I learned the language. Nate, you can gain life skills, wisdom, and sometimes talents from these leaves, he explains while approaching a seller's counter and tipping an orange-colored basket forward. See this basket? Orange tells me that this basket has greens harvested from hunters. Hunter is the profession that the priestess foretold I would become during my destiny reading. Eating from this basket heightens the chance of experiencing a dream that will teach you to be a better hunter. Blue baskets mean they carry the leaves with memories of fishermen. Each color stands for a skill. The more you eat of a certain color, the more chance you'll have of absorbing experience in that skill. Do you understand? I nod. Because your sisters are of the Oaken race, they'll tend to be better with magic when they get older. For now, we feed them plants harvesting memories of magic users. In less than a year, their profession will be decided, and it may not be of the magical kind. If that happens, we will feed them greens of whatever skill they're interested in. My world didn't have magic, I say. Wyston grins. Magic comes from the glowing spots on the backs of the elves. I'm going to say that one more time. Wyston grins. Magic comes from the glowing spots on the backs of the elves. I frowned. Don't worry. I can't use magic either. My people don't know how to tap into it the way Oaken elves can. They say it takes someone with a deeply personal relationship with the world itself. I know that humans as a whole didn't have a good relationship with Earth. Thinking of this only makes my frown grow worse. My people make up for it in other ways. I'm sure you'll find ways of your own. So what do you think I would be good at? He lifts one of my thin, childlike arms. After observing me, he laughs. Well, what would you like to be? We got hunters, farmers, watchers, warriors, Tavaros, mystics. Warrior, I shout, thinking of my old online character. Warrior? Are you sure? It isn't for the faint of heart. I nod again. All right then, warrior it is. He turns back to the colored baskets and examines them. I look at the other huts and spot one selling fish. Curious, I walk over to it and away from Weiston. What's your best warrior's harvest? I hear Weiston ask a seller as he watches me walk away. I can hear him calling to me, asking me where I'm going. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the man at the fish hut has my attention, and I cannot snap out of it. The salesman has his head down in a book, and as I get closer, he senses my presence. What can I help you with? He lifts his head to me, and I realize that it's him. It's the father of the boy in the first dream on this world. I stare at him in disbelief, feeling like I have reunited with my own father. He's wearing the many braids in his now longer beard. This is strange to me. Living through his son for only the one dream, I somehow believed he would have eventually stopped braiding his beard. Boy, are you all right? You want some fish? His sad expression is an exception to the otherwise happy city I live in. Though I've only just met him, I feel that I've known him forever, and the single glance he gives me tells me that he remains broken and depressed over his son's death. I put my right hand to my chest and close my pointer and middle fingers again, as I did earlier. The look on his face as I do this tells me he understands. Your son's last thought was that he hoped you would not blame yourself for his death. His eyes widen, and he begins to cry. And that is the end of chapter 3. I was really struggling not to stutter, but I do think I'm getting a little bit better than I was in the first 2 chapters. I also noticed that spit came out of my mouth a couple of times. It's not surprising when you talk a long time without gulping or taking a drink. That happens, and I'm sorry. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed chapter 3, and I will talk to you next week. Bye, guys.